What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Harrison, and today I wanted to talk about my honest thoughts, opinions on the Nintendo Switch 2. I have had it since it launched on Thursday. Been playing it a ton, been playing it a ton over the weekend, and yeah, I just wanted to give my honest thoughts about it because I feel like there is a lot of, my brother and I do a podcast, Gaming with the Broscast, and we've been uploading a ton of TikTok shorts or TikToks, I should say, and just comparing, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Kart World versus Mario Kart 8. And there is a lot of hate that I have seen in the comments, and I don't know if it's grifting. I don't know if it's just kind of like forced hate, like people just want to hate on the Switch because Mario Kart's $80, and that whole drop the price thing for a while. Um, so I see a lot of hate, and I feel like a lot of it isn't fair to Nintendo. And again, I'm not a shill for Nintendo or anything. I do have all the consoles. I play on everything. Yes, Nintendo does. It is probably my favorite company just because Zelda is my favorite franchise of all time. So I do like Nintendo a lot, and I love the Switch. And going into the Switch too, and maybe that's where some of the hate comes from as well, as people wanted Nintendo to be more revolutionary with their next console, and the Switch is just a very iterative, thing. It's a bigger, better, and more badass Switch, if you want to quote Cliffy B from back in the day for Gears of War 2. But yeah, I guess just my honest thoughts first, and then I'll start talking into why I think some of this hate is unfair. Um, this thing is awesome. It feels super super premium in a way that I expected, but also kind of didn't. It feels the way how, like, when you were, if you got an OLED, feeling the difference between holding an OLED versus the base model Switch, like how much of a difference that is. This is even more so than that. Everything just feels really really nice. The controls feel nice. The joysticks, um, being able to just detach is such a cool. It feels good every single time you do it. It's so much better than the rail system on the Switch. It just feels like really cool doing it, and it's super satisfying. As far as the games I've been playing, I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy, which I never did play back on the 360, back on the Xbox Series X or PS5. So I did do the upgrade path for that. I put a couple of hours into that. It's a lot of fun. The story is super intriguing, so I'm definitely gonna continue on there. I do have Cyberpunk, but I have not had a chance to play it. My son has been um, playing a ton of Switch with me, and if you know anything about Cyberpunk, that is not a game that you can play around kids. So I've been kind of waiting on to play that. Dove in a little bit to the GameCube stuff. Had a good time with Soul Calibur 2. Played a little bit of Wind Waker. Um, it feels good. Wind Waker, I know obviously it's upres, on the Switch too, but Wind Waker still looks just incredible. Definitely gonna play some more of that. I did pick up Bravely Default, the remaster. That game is super fun. I've put a few hours into that, so I don't have a lot to say. I did play a ton of that game back in the day on the DS, but um, yeah, I mean it's Bravely Default. Bravely Default's an excellent game. The graphics are they're that chibi style art style that some people like and some people don't like. I think it's fine. I think the game looks just fine. Um, so yeah, I'll probably have more to talk about Bravely Default on the podcast, but for now, um, let's dive over into Mario Kart. So that is kind of the meat and potatoes of the Switch 2 launch. That's the big launch title. And obviously, the elephant in the room with this game is $80. I did get the bundle, so I technically saved $30 with this game. But yeah, it is a $80 premium price tag from Nintendo, and I'll be honest. From what I've played so far, I do not think that it is worth the 80. If I'm being completely honest. Again, I got it for 50 with the bundle. I just I didn't. I'm not one that like super super loved Mario Kart 8. I did play a lot of that game, but I definitely I haven't played it in a few years, and this doesn't seem on the surface, this game doesn't seem like it's super super different. Yes, there is the new moves that you have in the game, the wall riding, the grinding. Overall movement of the game just feels a lot better than Mario Kart 8. And graphically, it does look better, definitely more detailed and stuff like that. But as far as like that stuff is all that stuff is great. It's a better playing Mario Kart. It's probably the best Mario Kart that's been made so far. Again, I know a lot of people go back to like Double Dash and stuff like that, but in my opinion, it's probably the best Mario Kart. The only thing that's really new to this game that I can see or tell, and granted, I've just been playing over the weekend, so I haven't been playing as much as everyone else has. But Knockout Tour, Knockout Tour is like the only newest mode that I've seen. I could be wrong. Again, I didn't play a ton of Mario Kart 8, so maybe there are a couple of other things that are new to the series. But as far as Knockout Tour goes, that's the only thing that I can see that is like totally new. Game is a lot of fun. Knockout Tour is definitely, in my opinion, the best mode in the game. Obviously, there's still the standard Grand Prix, in battle mode and stuff like that. But Knockout Tour is a ton of fun. It's kind of like it's not a battle royale, but it is like once you get to you start out with 24 racers, and then the next cutoff, when you go to the next lap, you have to be at least 20th or better, otherwise you get kicked out. And if you're playing online, you either watch the match or you just leave. So that is super fun, super intense. The AI in this game, the computers are really good. I have not won a um, ton of races, but they are very very good. It doesn't feel like rubber bandy and some other racing titles, but with the items, in the game, obviously you can come back from last to first, pretty quickly. And sometimes like the bots I've seen are just so far ahead that it's almost impossible to gain up on them. Um, but yeah, Mario Kart is a ton of fun. Again, I don't have that perspective of someone who played Mario Kart 8 the entire generation of a Switch. So I would love to hear somebody's perspective. And if there's a difference that you've seen, or maybe it's just more of the same, I would love to hear your opinion, because I think that stuff is super important. So let's dive into. So the quality of the Switch 2, awesome. I did pick up the Nintendo's camera. I do have it back here. I'll pull it out here for you guys. Definitely looks like the little Pixar lamp. This thing is actually very, very premium. The top is plastic, and I guess that's just because it does kind of move up and down to adjust the camera. But the base and the arm of the camera are metal, so that's super cool. It's got like a you know, little clasp here to hold the wire for cable management. So yeah, this camera is very premium and it works. It works as intended. I did jump into some Mario Kart I played with my brother. The camera quality isn't super super great, but they also didn't. It's 1080p. It's not anything super super great. And the quality, like when we were streaming, it worked. We just did like the version where you don't see the entire room, you just see the face of the person. And seeing that was fun. It was fun, when you're playing Mario Kart and my brother's in front of me and I hit him with a green shell or something like that, or a red shell, and then like I see his reaction, as I'm passing by, is super super hilarious. Because it does show you in the course, it'll show their face right above their cart, so you have that, and then you also have the little um, area at the bottom where you can see their face as well. So that's super fun. Definitely reminds me of like the old school days of like playing Uno and stuff like that. Obviously, less aggressive than Uno because Uno was nasty back in the day. For those who know, no. So yeah, camera works just fine. I think it's cool. I don't think it's a make or break feature. I don't think if you never get a camera for the Switch 2, I don't really think you're missing out on too much. But being able to chat and see each other while you're playing a game, whether it's the same game or not, is a super cool feature, and it's just kind of like a perk or an incentive, I guess. If you have that camera and you can use it. Again, I don't think it's necessary. If you have your own USB camera, you could certainly plug that into your Switch 2 and use it, and you don't have to buy anything additional. So that is cool that is a feature with the Switch 2. Going to like the Switch Welcome Tour, that should definitely be a pack-in game. I played a little bit of that, and it's fun, like kind of playing the mini games and using the mouse controls and stuff like that to get a sense of how the mouse controls work on the Switch 2 is really really fun and cool and neat. And the presentation of it is really cool. Again, it's $10, but come on, Nintendo, it just should have been a pack-in game. And then as far as like the price goes, I feel like 450 is a fair price. You know, and I don't know if a ton of people have an issue with the Switch 2's price overall. I think it's just Mario Kart, and then also the Welcome Tour is being $10. Um, yeah, the price itself, I mean, compared to other handhelds, it's well below all those things. It's cheaper than a current PlayStation 5 and definitely cheaper than a current Xbox at the moment. Who knows if they're going to lower prices at all, but probably not, in my opinion, or my guess. But let's go over to the launch because that's where I've seen a lot of people giving hate on Nintendo and how they've done their upgrade paths and stuff like that. So and I just want to so we're just going to kind of go through some of the launch titles because I don't know if people forgot or if they chose to forget because a lot of people just like to hate on Nintendo for whatever reason. I'm assuming it's because they are the market leader in gaming and some certain fans of certain plastic consoles are always pissed off about that stuff. But let's just look. So we'll start with the Xbox Series launch. So this is just a Xbox Series guide from IGN. So and I don't think they had any first party releases. So we got Apex Legends, Assassin's Creed, Borderlands, and you guys can kind of read this stuff as I go along here. Destiny 2. These were all kind of upgrade paths, right? Fortnite obviously got the upgrade. Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Gears Tactics, Grounded, all got the 4K treatment, stuff like that. Ori. So games that were already there, right? That were already on the Xbox One that you could already play, and they just simply got upgrades for the Series X, right? I didn't see a ton of people complain. I mean, maybe there probably was some complaints back in the day, for Xbox specifically because they just didn't have anything new with the Series X. And granted, they were Halo was supposed to be a launch game, but obviously we know how that didn't work out. But yeah, it was all just upgrades. And granted, Xbox did have the smart delivery. I don't think to this day they've ever charged for an upgrade. It's just always been free on the Xbox, which was super super nice. I love the fact that it's been free this entire time. So let's look because I see a lot of obviously I think at this point I think the PS5 and PlayStation fanboys are kind of the loudest when it comes to like console wars. I think they're the only ones that really try to keep it alive nowadays. Obviously there are Xbox people out there, but just the way that Xbox is moving forward with their kind of a play anywhere initiative, I think a lot of that stuff has died down because there's no exclusives anymore for Xbox. I think that's where this conversation gets the loudest is from these people for whatever reason they hate Nintendo. So let's dive over into to PlayStation 5's launch title. So we got Astro's Playroom. That was obviously the pack-in title for PlayStation 5. Demon Souls, a remaster, right? A remake, however you want to define that. Marvel Spider-Man Remastered. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. That was I think that was a cross-gen game, right? It came out on both PS4 and PS5. And then Sackboy: A Big Adventure. That got a PS4 or PS5 upgrade. And then they had a ton of other, same stuff, Assassin's Creed, all that stuff. So not a ton there, right? A lot of remasters, a lot of remakes, a lot of upgrades. Same as Nintendo, right? If we're going to go over here. So we've got Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and PlayStation had, the $10 upgrade fees that they did for their games. So they are not alone. Nintendo is not the only one that did this with their upgrade paths. So I don't like that conversation and, greeting. Yes, Welcome Tour should absolutely be free, right? I don't agree that Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart World is $80. I just don't see that as a premium game that deserves to be 80, if that makes sense. It does feel like they're just trying to kind of get away with $80 price tag because it is Mario Kart World and people are going to buy it because it's extremely popular. It's the best selling game on the Switch 1. So that opinion I can definitely see. But as far as like upgrade paths and having old games getting remastered and having upgrades for the Switch too. Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo all did the same thing. Let's even go back to the PlayStation 4 launch. We had, let's see, Killzone Shadowfall Playroom was a pack-in game for there. So again, not a ton. Call of Duty Ghosts, not a ton of first-party stuff from PlayStation. Kind of same thing with Nintendo. We got, Welcome Tour, and we got, Mario Kart World. So I'm seeing very similar launches between all the platforms. And so when I see people hating on Nintendo because they do upgrade paths and stuff like that, I just simply don't agree, because I just don't think people remembered how the Series X and PlayStation 5 launched. And again, they're probably just choosing to forget because they just want to hate on Nintendo. Again, I'm going to say it, and I think Nintendo hate is a little bit forced. I think every company has their flaws, absolutely, and every company has their kind of benefits for being with them. And yes, again, the price of Mario Kart I think is ridiculous. Welcome Tour should have been a pack and title. A lot of the accessories are very expensive. Obviously, they had to change some of that pricing due to the tariff situation. Maybe that stuff will come down. I just don't know. But so far, I am very, very pleased with my Nintendo Switch 2. If you are waiting for the big first-party stuff, Donkey Kong, which is next month, the next Zelda, the next Mario, hold off. You don't have to be... You don't have to get it immediately. I like to be an early adopter. I just like new tech, so I just wanted to have this, knowing that there's not a ton. And yes, it does feel like the Switch 2 launch is missing that big first-party single-player Nintendo game, and that is a little bit of a bummer. I'm definitely feeling it, but I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart, and I've had a ton of fun. But I do feel that. When I do pick up the Switch, I'm like, man, like where's the Zelda, where's the Mario? But obviously we're getting Donkey Kong next month, so that's going to be the big single player thing. But it does still feel like it is missing that. So overall, I am very pleased. I don't give scores for these things, so I'm not going to give a score because there's still other things I want to play down the road and experience some of the upgrades and stuff like that for Zelda. I want to play Kirby when it comes out here in a few months for that upgrade, but. So far, I'm very pleased. If you're on the fence about it, maybe wait until that big game comes out for you. But let's just be nice. I mean, people are early adopters for a lot of things. A lot of people were hating on the price of PlayStation 5 Pro, and a lot of people bought that. So let's just be nice. If you don't agree with the upgrades, if you don't think they look visually impressive, I would say for our video specifically, a lot of that stuff was taken. Some of that stuff was taken on the Switch 2, like screens. And then you can't really compare like a video that's put on TikTok or uploaded to YouTube, because some of that stuff gets kind of bogged down with the with how the graphics actually look. And then obviously the frame rate is the big thing with these upgrades for both Zelda games. I mean, being able to play in 60 is so much more. It just feels so much better playing that versus playing 30 and below on the Switch 1. So you definitely have to take that into consideration for that stuff. But I think I've rambled enough. My thoughts are, I think the Switch 2 is a great upgrade to the Switch 1. Again, it's not like a revolutionary thing. It is just, it is a more powerful Switch. And that's what I wanted. I think that's what most people wanted from Nintendo, is they love their Switch. The form factor is fantastic. We just wanted more power, and we finally got that. And I'm very excited to get more games down the future. So hopefully you guys will like this video. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know if you got your hands on a Switch 2. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are so far of the launch lineup, the games you've been playing, the upgrades, all that stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Consider subscribing to the channel. I'll let YouTube algorithm pick one of my videos below for you guys to watch. Give it a click, and I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next video.